Today I'm going to be making focaccia bread. I think that's how you say it. I got this ingredient online. It was actually from food.com, just to let you know. What I need is, you're going to need 2 3/4 cup of flour. You're going to need a teaspoon of salt, just regular salt. You need a teaspoon of white sugar. You need 1 packet of dry yeast mix, and we just got the 3-pack. And you need garlic powder. You need 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. You need a teaspoon of oregano, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground thyme, a 1/2 teaspoon of basil, or as Henry says, basil, as a joke. You need 1 dash of ground pepper. I'm assuming just put a little, and that's it. I'm not sure what dash, whatever. You need a tablespoon of vegetable oil, just regular old vegetable oil. You need a cup of warm water, which I didn't get out, but it's just going to be to put your yeast in. So you need a cup of warm water, somewhere between 105 and 115 degrees, as long as it's warm. You need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then you need 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, which we just get the grated Parmesan cheese in the spaghetti aisle. And then you need 1 1/2 cups of mozzarella cheese shredded. And that's it. Now we're actually going to turn these into a sandwich later on. So this video will just be for the bread, and then we'll have a separate video on the sandwich itself. So I'm going to get my flour and I'm going to get the flour in and get my water, and I'll show you the next steps. Okay, I've got my cup of warm water and I've got my packet of yeast, and what you have to do is put your yeast in the warm water. And it says stir it, and I always just kind of mix it in. And I'll leave the spoon because I'll have to rake this out anyway. And it'll start like getting little bubbles on it when it's ready, but it has to sit for like 10 minutes. So while this is sitting and proofing, I'm going to go ahead and get my dry ingredients in the bowl. Okay, I've got my 2 3/4 cup of flour in the bowl, and it just takes a while to measure, so I went ahead and measured it out. But it's just regular 2 3/4 cups of flour. And then I need a teaspoon of salt. And a teaspoon of sugar, just regular white sugar. You almost think, what's the point, don't you? That's what it calls for. Okay, and like I said, I'm going by my recipe. So garlic powder, we need a teaspoon of garlic powder. And a teaspoon of oregano. I don't want to get too much. And then you need a 1/2 teaspoon. Oh, that's a 1/2 tablespoon. Hold on. Wrong measuring spoon. I thought that was awfully big.
But you didn't put the wrong amount of anything.
No.
No. Okay.
1/2 teaspoon of the thyme and the basil. Which looks just like the oregano, doesn't it?
It smells very different though.
Ooh, that's strong.
It smells good though.
And then the basil. It just said dried basil. I'm assuming basil leaves is what they're wanting.
I always think of basil from Faulty Towers.
I do too. Okay. And the black pepper. A dash of black pepper. I don't know what a dash. I'm just assuming that's like a like that. Now, wouldn't you think? A dash? There's probably a specific measurement for a dash. I'm thinking we used to have one.
There is. There are specific I've saw them at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, so we don't have one of those, so whatever. So I'm going to put this on my mixer. If I get it on there. Get up there. And I've got the dough hook. I'm just going to use the dough hook the entire time. Just to mix it up, just to get all the ingredients mixed up. That's really all I want. So right now I'm waiting for my yeast and water to kind of start bubbling and proofing. So while that's waiting, I'm going to get my vegetable oil measured out and put the lids back on these spices, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my yeast here, and I'm going to pour it into the water. Pour my yeast into the water. Pour this water mixture into the flour. Try to get as much of that yeast as you can out of the bowl. You don't want to leave any of it. And then you use 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. And you notice I made like a little a cup in the middle to hold all that stuff, because you don't want all of your liquids to be on the outside and it to be on the inside. So drop this down, start slow.
I'd like to make an observation.
What?
Standing here smelling that, it smells like when you walk into a Subway.
No, yeah.
It smells like that, the smell of that bread.
I can believe that because it's got the seasoning in it.
That's exactly what that smells like.
And I may have to take my spatula and knock some of the flour down, because it looks like it's all going to stick right there on the sides.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn it off just so I've done this rodeo before and knocked it out of my hand and got it stuck in there and ripped it all to pieces and had to throw the whole thing away. I've done that before. Okay. That's smoking. Once it starts firming up a little bit, it'll start moving around and it'll start grabbing stuff off the side and moving better. This smoking. There we go. I don't want to sling flour everywhere. And you just want it to where the dough starts pulling together. And then I've got a lightly floured surface over here. And I'm just using the countertop. And get a little flour on your hands. And pull this out. And you're not going to need it a whole lot. But you do want to knead it a little bit. It's not too awfully sticky now, honestly. And kneading it, all it is taking it and folding it over and pressing it down. That's kneading. It's nothing more magic than that. But you don't want to do it a lot because it'll get really tough. Your bread will get tough if you do it too much. You just want to kind of pull it together. Okay, now I'm going to get a bowl and just lightly grease the bowl. And once I get the bowl greased and I put this in it, then I'll let you see what it looks like before I cover it up. Okay, I just sprayed down the bowl, the mixing bowl, and I'm just going to literally drop this in there and make sure I don't have any pieces of flour in there like that. And you let it rise. You cover it with a damp cloth and let it sit in a warm place, which I'm just going to keep it in here. For 25 minutes, and then I'll be back when it's hopefully risen in 25 minutes. I'm back. It's been about more like 35 minutes just to let it rise a little bit longer. There's what it looks like. It didn't rise a lot, but this is not like a really huge thick bread anyway, so it's a fairly thin bread. I've got an oiled, just use cooking spray and sprayed it down, oiled baking sheet. My oven is on 425, so make sure you have it preheated before you come back. And what I'm going to do is just punch down the dough, get the air out of it. and spread this out on your pan to where it's about 1/2 inch thick. And it doesn't have to be a perfect rectangle, but you want it, you know, you don't want it to be like, you know, like a blob either. So kind of get it as square as you possibly can. And 1/2 inch isn't very thick, so. All right, and it says just take your knuckle and like make these dents in the dough, like 1/2 inch apart. I don't know if that's to help hold the oil, help hold the cheese, just make it look good. Who knows? Okay, and then take a fork and just literally just go around and poke some holes in it. Okay. And then take your olive oil, and you just need enough. This is the only brush I have, is this monster barbecue brush, but doesn't matter. We're going to take our olive oil and just brush it on top. And it said about 2 tablespoons. I don't know how much I got in here. I just poured some in the bowl. Honestly, we've had this olive oil forever, so. Yeah, that's a good flavor for it too. Now you want 2 tablespoons of the shredded Parmesan, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over top of it. You know, it's as much as you like. I like Parmesan cheese, honestly, but I'm just going to sit here and just sprinkle it over top. And then you need 1.5 cups, and this is a 2-cup bag, so I'm going to need almost all of this cheese, and I'll probably end up pouring it in my hand. And just sprinkle it all over. Okay, and this is going to go in the oven, just like it is, for 13 to 15 minutes or until it's brown on top. So I'm going to get it in the oven. Again, it's 425. Make sure your oven's preheated because you want it to be good and hot before you stick it in there. And I'll be back when it comes out. Okay, it's ready to come out. It's been 13 minutes exactly. Yeah, it looks perfect. I mean, I don't think you get much better than that, honestly. It's good and brown. The cheese is good and brown. The bread has got a good crust on it. And you notice it doesn't rise very thick. That'd make a good pizza dough, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. You could put your stuff on there right now and do it. So I'm gonna let this cool off before I do anything, but I'm gonna end up, like I said, making sandwiches out of this. So this will be the end of this video, and hopefully you'll watch another video that involves this bread and an Italian style sandwich.